Hey, it's MK, and I am here with the 31 Days of Cut Files with MK and Janet. And today I am using the Fridays, I don't know, is it a stamped frame collage? Stamped collage. I'm not really sure, but it is a very cool cut file. I really did like it. I'm also playing along with Mixed Media Mayhem, and thanks to the Josephine and her layout that she has done, I'm going to try to recreate it in a way using all of these bits and pieces, and then we also have the inner bits of pieces of this cut file. I also have some uber old, some assemblage required pieces. I've got my first set of popcorns, which this is the actual size, but then I have an oversized set that was one of a test cut. And so inside here, they are so old, you guys. This is when, oh my golly, probably my first year when everything was uber thick and chunky. So I've got a whole set of all of my, I don't know, movie night or film strip or things like that type of embellishments. I've got acrylic, wood veneer, as well as more acrylic. And then I have some photos of my son and his Everything Brothers Grimm play that he did in his drama class. I do have to reprint a couple of the photos. And then I have inside this little reminisce packet is a mix of a bunch of things. So inside here, I have some embellishments that are mostly from the 2023 Advent calendar from SAR. So I had these flare from Scrap and Happy Studio that were also in the Advent calendar, as well as this wood veneer. And it's a collage. The stars actually pop up. You'll see that later. And then I have some acrylic pieces, again, all from the Advent calendar. So I think I had 4 or 5 sets, and clearly I did not use any of them. So I'm going to try to put some of them, especially there's a third star. I know there's a third star somewhere, but I'm not really sure where it's off to. Oh, there it is. Found it. And then I also have the, I'm not really sure if I'm going to show you the popcorn next or the fact that I have 2 sets of these flare. I really love documenting popcorn. From Doodle Bug, I have these, the shaker pop, and then these Brads also came in the Advent calendar in 2023. More of the flare because I had an extra set. And then the popcorn also came in the Advent calendar. So it's a little bit of a darker popcorn. Maybe this one's buttered. And then these little guys here, these frames, came in the 2023 Advent calendar as well. So from Reminisce, I have the sticker sheet, and I've only used one little thing. And truth be told, because I was going to use the one that says the best seat in the house, I was going to use that, and then I set the sticker sheet off to the side and completely forgot about it. I also have some Paper Phenomenon papers in this little kit too, because it is movie themed. So I've got 2 of these papers. So here is one side. And then I was thinking that if the other side matched, I could do a double page. But when I put them next to each other, they didn't really match. And this one is more of a memory theme rather than a movie theme. But I wanted to keep these papers together because I do have the Paper Phenomenon papers in a different area. And so I put those 2 as reminders in this category so I could go and look at that in another category. So here are the Reminisce papers. I'm just going to go through them really quickly. This isn't a full set. Like my other papers of the cut-aparts, I've already cut them apart and used a few pieces of those on another layout. Some of them are realistic, and so for me, I really like the popcorn side. I love this film strip one because it almost matches our stamped frame set, but I like the grunge on the other side as well. Here's some of the cut aparts. I have a few of them left. It almost looks like I have a full page, but I swear I only have a few left. And then I cut up some popcorn pieces as well. I do have 2 sheets of, there's the cover piece. So you see what the whole collection looks like. It is by Reminisce, and I got it from scrapbook.com. I am going to use 2 sheets of white cardstock. That is the, what's it called? The watercolor white cardstock, because I ended up actually remembering that it's Mixed Media Mayhem, right? So I have to make a watercolory background that resembles as much as possible to the one that Josephine did in her layout. It's not a sketch, it's a layout. So I'm also going to do a lot of watercoloring on my little squares here, because I'm not using frames like Josephine used in hers, in her layout. I'm actually going to be using the inner bits of the squares and have them represent the frames. So I'm going to have them scattered behind my pictures once I actually make it this far. So I didn't realize this layout almost took me about 4 hours. And most of that is the painting time, the drying time, the assembly time. This is definitely a DIY layout because of the fact that I'm practically making my own paper. So once that dried and I did a little bit of splattering, I just put them all together and then I splattered in certain areas. And then some of the black splattered on some of the yellow, some of the red splattered on some of the black, so on and so forth. It wasn't intentional. It was just that I had everything really close encounter. Then I'm going to take some of this Altenew relief paste, which I'm going to have a link down below, because this stuff is pretty cool stuff. It almost dries like a plastic. And I'm going to go through this stencil, and forgive me, I forgot where this stencil came from. Last year, I went on a stencil buying kick because I felt like I didn't have any stencils that I was looking for. Like, I have a big old huge book of stencils, and I felt like every single one of them was the wrong stencil. Like, they weren't what I'm needing at the time. And so I went on a binge, and I have no clue where I got half of my stencils. I do know that I shop mostly at scrapbook.com and a cherry on top. And I just type in stencils or star stencils or circular, circle designs on stencils. I just type in what it is that I'm looking for. And also too, mixed media stencils work really well too, and have a good comeback as well. I'm also painting my frame in a brown that came in my watercolor set. And then just as a reference, I wanted to put the pieces back in to see how well did I do with mixing up the colors. I didn't do a very good job. Luckily, I'm not going to put those pieces back into my frame. I'm actually going to put pictures in my frame. But because these smaller pictures did not, they just weren't wide enough, I'm going to take a Sharpie and color the edges really quickly. So that way they kind of disappear and I don't have those bright white poking between the little postage design that was in the frame. And then I have to do a little bit on the bigger pictures as well. But I had to go and reprint those because I printed everything in the 2x3 ish size, and not realizing or forgetting that I had a couple really long pieces and really tall pieces. And so once I printed in the 3x4 ish size, then I was able to get the sizes that I needed. I just had to color some of the pieces with a Sharpie. I do have 2 other Cricut pens because they were broader tipped, but I haven't used those in ages, and they were slightly dry. So I was able to use the chisel tip one, or the calligraphy one is what it's called, for a hot minute, and that made it pretty fast because all I did was lay it flat and then draw a line, and then it covered it without me actually having to go over it multiple times because my Sharpie's not broad tipped. It was very fine point. But yeah, other than that, it worked out really well. Then I'm going to take one of these frames, and they're actually stickers. So I'm going to take the sticker, put it right on top where I want my son's photo, and then cut around it. I tried out multiple frames before I picked this one, and this one was absolutely perfect. And then I'm bringing out my Altenew metallic paints, and I'm going to paint my background because this is where I remembered I can't use those pattern papers like I intended to. I needed to make a watercolory background for my representation of the Mixed Media Mayhem layout that we're lifting, right? So this is what I did. I took my frame, found a spot where I could cut it in half, air quotes, half. And then that way I had some of it on my left page, some of it on my right page. And now I'm making just a watercolory mess. to represent the same thing that Josephine did on her background. I am also going to be pulling out some cardstock, some red cardstock, so that way it looks almost like a curtain. So that way I can, well, it doesn't look like a curtain because you're only going to see like microscopic bits of it. But I wanted a border around this. I didn't really like it plain Jane at all. I really did want to put a border around all of everything that I've got going on here. Okay, so I'm going to mop up a little bit of some of the water that I had going on. And then I have a brighter gold that I'm going to use for splattering. So I've got my dull gold or not so shiny gold, and then I've got my bright gold, and I use the bright gold as splattering, and then the darker gold is what I'm using to put behind in my background. I have absolutely no idea where any of my elements are going to go. I just knew that I didn't need to paint the entire piece because of the framed portion, right? And you can't really see through it because of all the pictures and things like that. So I just wanted to make it a paintery mess, and make it look like it's coming out from behind my stamped frame and all my pictures. So I'm just going through and making sure that I get it enough to the edge, but I don't want it to go all the way to the edge. I want to leave some white spots as well as add in some of that splatter. And then once I took the tape off, all I'm doing now is filling in that gap right across the border because I had it taped down. I didn't add any paint. All I did was reactivate the paint that was already there with my wet paintbrush. I really did not bring back any extra paint to fill in those gaps between the two pages because of the tape. So that was super easy. Then I'm going to go ahead. I already did the one page. So this is the second page, and I am just going to go ahead and take some tear and tape, lay it down, and then there are my two pages. And I do a border all the way around, and then I do an X in the middle. So that way there's no buckling anywhere, but yet I'm not doing edge to edge, side to side coverage, if that makes sense, top to bottom. I didn't need all that coverage. As long as I put that X in the middle, I've got all my points, secured down. So here are my frames, and then I'm just scattering my little squares all over. I love how they ended up looking, especially with the relief paste put on, because now they've got that sparkle of gold, and then it kind of almost looks like everything's going around in a circle. I really like how that looks. And then I'm just going to take all of my popcorn pieces and scatter them out like the crowd is cheering and throwing their popcorn all over the place. I'm using the two different sizes. So I had my oversized popcorn, which was my my test cuts, because how big do you really need popcorn? And then I've got my final cuts. Now these popcorn pieces haven't been available in my shop for quite a while. I want to say years, because of the fact that I don't do this thick of acrylic anymore. These are my 1/8 inch thick acrylic pieces. And now with the wood pieces, I do 1/16 inch. And so I've kind of let a lot of my products slip under the rug. Like, I haven't brought them back because they were at this size. I don't want to bring them back at that size. And so, yes, I do need to bring all of these pieces back, but in the thinner pieces or thinner product. So keep on your lookout, because in October, it's going to kind of be like a revival section. So some of the things that I used to have in my Etsy shop that didn't come over because they were the thicker material, they're going to be making a reappearance. So they're going to be coming back because I have thinner material now. I'm able to bring all of those pieces back. So just keep your eye out for it. I've got a new stitching template coming out. Oh my God, I'm so excited about that one. And of course, like I said, I'm reviving some older product that hasn't been in the shop since the Etsy shop closed in 2023. So I'm super excited about that. So I've got my flare flattened, and then I went ahead and I inked it so that way it's not so bright and shiny. I also added in this circular film strip. This one is one of my favorite. I already did another play-ish type of layout using this same circular film strip. But I actually took it, and this is available in digital format as well, if you guys are curious about that one. But I actually took this circular one and added resin, UV resin into it with a bunch of little stars and stuff. And I love how that turned out. I just decided not to do it with this one because I think I'm going to put a title right there. I don't really know just yet. So I'm going to finish this layout off with my microscopic little popcorn pieces, as well as my stars. I popped the stars out of the wood veneer piece, and so I will place those somewhere on my layout. I don't end up using all of my little popcorn pieces. I feel like I can save them for something else, but I liked the idea of the fact that I can layer up all of these pieces. They are so thin that I can layer them up just as if they were, a die cut from a paper pack, right? So I love that idea. And then I skipped through the adding the title, which just says on stage, because as you can see, I had to use teeny tiny itty bitty little bits of foam, doubled because my pieces are so thick. So I had to double the foam and Frankenstein some letters together. So it was just a nightmare, and I wanted to just fast forward over it because it was such a nightmare. All right, you guys, so that is my layout for today. I had a blast throwing popcorn all over the place. That was my favorite part about this layout, is the fact that it just looks like, no offense, but the messy floor of a movie theater. And this play was so amazing and so wildly out there that it fit. Like, this whole theme fits for this particular play. It was great. And my son was the bad guy in it. So there he is being the bad guy. And they were trying to, catch him for being a killer. He was a bad guy. And he just had so much fun doing that part. So anyways, thank you again for hanging out with me today. I really, truly appreciate it. Don't forget to check out the links that I have down below. Josephine, thank you so much for allowing us to lift you today. But I have a playlist for Mixed Media Mayhem, as well as 31 Days of Cut Files. And then please, please, please go check out Janet Fritz's channel, who is Galaxy Girl Creations, here on YouTube, because she is my partner in crime in not only 31 Days of Cut Files, but also in Mixed Media Mayhem and Messy Monday and Stretch the Sketch and Kit Conspiracy and Color Craze and all of the other things that we do together as a team. So yes, she is my partner in crime. She's my scrapbooking partner, and I absolutely love it. And yes, please go check her out because her videos and her layouts are fantabulous. All right, you guys, again, thank you so much, and I'll check you guys all later. Bye.